Well, we brought him. We just didn't bring him in this time. So
Yeah, so eventually we'll get this figured out and actually, have a system down. But I bought the notepads. The notepads are still in the truck.
the last time we talked about buying notepads. This time we did buy them.
It's a process, I reckon.
Yeah. We'll slowly get there.
Yeah, I don't know. We might get to hang of it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But everybody, this is our second episode, and today we're interviewing Jeremy Forcum. So Jeremy, I don't know, you went to school with my brother, grew up same town, same area, but Jeremy, you got a pretty successful business. So I don't know. You want to start with how you got started?
I guess I've heard him say, you were born and now you're here. What happened between? Well, I don't reckon we'll go that deep into it. However, you touched on the business and you touched on your brother, BJ. Yeah, BJ and I went to school together, same age.
Well, I noticed on your email it says 78, and so is my brother's. Like his is something like R.D. Brown 78 or something like that. So I figured, same birth year.
Yeah, so you might not believe this, but BJ is a very, very smart cat. So in our school, he was definitely one of the smartest guys there, and it was just amazing how he scored on tests and just very, very smart.
So if I'm not mistaken, he got a 32 on his ACT.
I believe you're correct. I believe him and another fellow, Mike Reed, in our class, both got 32s, and it was just it was like he never studied, and he rocked it.
Yeah, I've always been a little confused why we don't own part of Microsoft or something along those lines, and we're farming for Bill Gates and BJ Brown, but
yeah,
we're not.
So I guess in high school is where I kind of started mowing lawns. That sounds kind of cliche, cookie cutter type stuff, but that's where I got my start, was mowing lawns.
I guess we ought to back up. So when people ask, what do you do for a living, what do you tell them?
Wow. That's almost
because I can't answer that because it seems like you do a little bit of everything.
I was going to ask if it's business or businesses.
We do have several businesses, and they've all, I won't say they came out of means, just came out of opportunities here and there.
Right.
The first and foremost, we make our bread and butters from, I don't even want to say construction, but the company's called JSF Landscape Construction. But we kind of, like I said, started mowing lawns, and it led to so many things out of need that people wanted. And we're going back to 1995.
So this would have been, what, your junior year of high school?
Well, as soon as I got my license, I was up and running. I couldn't wait to go out. And,
so you were the guy with the lawnmower in the student parking lot.
That is correct. And I had the most loot back then. I mean, like I said, back at that time, now you see everybody's got a mower hauling it around town. And back then there was not a lot of people doing it. Wasn't as much business either, I don't think. So that's what kind of got things started, and it's evolved into several other businesses to just kind of, cushion all aspects of what we can have, and we can go into any of them if you want. But I've got some billboards. I own a mini storage unit. Own some properties, rental properties. We've got a company that sweeps parking lots at night. Then our main company, does the excavation, construction type stuff.
Okay. So when you were going back to 1995, 1996 time frame, at that point in time, I mean, was the landscaping demand very large like it seems to be now, or in the last 20 years even? Or was it a lot harder? I mean, were you mowing for more penny pinching grandmas than anything, or what was the scene like back then? I mean, that was pretty much about the time zero-turn lawnmowers were starting to become popular, wasn't it? Or
I would say it was a little bit after that, before the zero turns became popular, and it was tough because it was at the point, maybe a breaking point in the lawn care industry, but a lot of people didn't want to pay, and they were still doing it in house, doing it themselves, and since then almost everybody pays to have their lawn mowed, so you had to really hustle to get the jobs back then, especially the mowing. But I kind of went door to door. And as a kid, like we probably all are, timid, and I think it was a big step in my progression to, bang on those doors, and defeat was more common than success when you was beating on those doors. So it was a big stepping stone.
You remember what your first mower was?
Yeah, it was a little green MTD push mower.
Oh, wow. Started at the bottom.
And actually, the story goes, it's a true story. That's what I got for Christmas. When I guess it was a sophomore. That's what I wanted, and that's what I got. And there she went.
Well, that was probably a better Christmas present than a Game Boy or whatever. Were there Game Boys then?
Yep.
I thought I remember BJ having a Game Boy because I stole it at some point, but probably a much better Christmas present than something like that, for sure. Do you remember, like, at that time, what was do you remember what your first, like, paying job was paying at the time?
Yeah, they were all $15 to $20 per lawn.
Okay.
But what worked out really well is once I got in a neighborhood, it was easy to snowball to get the neighbors. And
Okay. Someone see you on the lawn, in the neighborhood, cul-de-sac or something.
Yep. And honestly, at that time, there was only 3 mowing companies in Chillicothe. You know, Ross County, Chillicothe, you know, a fairly small town. But, yeah, there was not a lot of competition, but the competition was just getting people to get their pocketbook out to pay you.
Right.
That kind of soon after led into actual, I mean, we kind of said lawn care, but treating lawns, like chemically fertilizing, pesticides. And that didn't last real long. I just didn't like doing that. It just wasn't fun.
Gotcha. Okay. So how long were you mostly staying in lawn care then? I mean, I guess when did that progression go from mowing lawns to, like, seeding lawns or, like, even doing heavy dirt work? I mean, it seems like now I've seen some heavy equipment pulling in here. So, I mean, I guess when did that kind of stuff start taking place?
It happened pretty quick.
Okay.
By the time I was, I believe, 20, I bought a little backhoe. And obviously, the backhoe work was way more fun than pushing the lawnmower. Now, actually, our company still has several mowing accounts, but it all gets subbed out.
Okay. Okay.
So we don't actually mow in-house, but, you know, we're in charge of several mowing projects, and it just gets subbed out so that we can play on the more fun things.
I understand. Like, a lot of my buddies, I mean, they're kind of getting to the age where they've bought property, and all of them want to get a 25 horsepower tractor with a little loader on it and mow their yard all day. And I'm like, I absolutely hate mowing grass. Like, it's nothing fun about it.
See, I never get to mow our grass. Me and my wife fight over that.
I will admit, which we'll touch on this later, but we've got a golf hole here at the property. And so there's several acres of mowing here. And in the background, we just bought a newer Kubota. It's fun right now to run that Kubota. You know, it'll obviously wear out the newness. So everybody pretty much mows everything except for the golf course here, and that's, you got to stay off the golf course area.
That's your mowing?
That's my baby.
I got you. So back to mowing grass. I mean, like, just looking at that now, I mean, I know a few people that have kind of followed a similar path, and it seems like everyone wants to get out of grass as soon as possible. And looking at it from the outside, I'm looking at, like, for example, my cousin, for example, he started mowing grass and stuff, and it's like, how are you making any money at all? I mean, because it doesn't seem like they're paying a whole lot more than they were in 1995, 1996 time frame, except a lawnmower is about 3 or 4 times higher.
You're probably correct. And one of the reasons we hold on to the mowing now is because what the mowing leads to. So some of the bigger commercial accounts, we hold on to that mowing because it also gives us the sweeping contracts, the snow removal contracts, the parking lot maintenance contracts. So it's kind of nice to have that mowing still in the forte of what we can offer to clients.
Just be more of a one-stop shop that way.
Right, yeah. Like the Guernsey Crossing in town, it's a bigger mall. I feel like it's one of the nicer malls in town. And that's a great contract for us, but we take care of pretty much everything so that they have one contact. It just works out well.
It also work to probably get your foot in the door as far as maybe start mowing and then lead to other things.
Right. And, you know, we had some fallout on some subs we were using for mowing this year, and it's still hard to find people to mow. I mean, everybody's booked up.
Might have to go back to cutting grass.
Bring it.
Yeah.
How long did you mow yards until did we answer that already?
Well, kind of. You know, mowing was definitely all through high school, and like I said earlier, I remember mowing in town for some realtors, and then they would they got to like me or like at least what I was doing for them. Well, they'd find a place that needed, cleaned up shrubs or
those are always good.
Drainage issue. So it quickly led into it was actually called a Dig-It, a little mini backhoe that I bought, and most people kind of thought I was crazy. Man, I wore that thing out. I wore it plumb out.
Right, save you a lot of back work.
Yeah, and it was more fun to wake up in the morning to know I was going to go do something with the backhoe versus with the mower. Plain and simple.
So do you feel like you got burned out on mowing then, or is it just more about moving up the ladder as far as landscaping and?
Yeah, I think it's. I strive anymore as we're fortunate enough with our company to kind of pick and choose our jobs.
Okay.
So I love the creativity of some of the projects we do.
Gotcha. I can see that.
Mowing's kind of
Same old,
monotonous. I mean,
yeah,
it's,
right. I can see that.
The creativity is what excites me anymore on different projects.
Right.
And we're known for doing. So there are several people in town, and I won't mention names, but when they have just a plain Jane concrete job, they'll go with another contractor, somebody that's cheaper. But when they got something really technical, we always get the job, and that's pretty cool to know.
Right.
So do you remember, like, when your business grew to a point where you had to start hiring people, or was that fairly quick, or did that take a while, or were you a one-man band for a while?
Probably 4 or 5 years, and it's kind of interesting in the lines with you, Brian. My dad has worked for me for 22 years now.
Okay.
So he actually had a different job, and once I was big enough to be able to afford him, he came and worked for us, and he was the first employee, and he's still with us now, and it's been really cool.
Okay. Yeah. Has it been harder to hire people like that, nowadays versus back 20 years ago?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a whole bag of worms, but yeah, it's tough to get people that are halfway qualified, and the work we do, it's tough work.
It's not an office job.
Right. And we'll try to take lunch breaks and stuff, but sometimes especially if we're doing concrete, you know.
Work till the concrete's done.
Yeah.
Or if the concrete starts setting up, you better get to it.
Right. And I like to stay busy and keep things moving. The biggest thing I see is phones anymore. Usually when we're on a job, I just keep my phone in the truck, and they drive me crazy, man.
So how are you able to do that and run a business at the same? Because it sounds like you got multiple irons in the fire, or just get to it when you get to it.
Yeah, I mean that phone's going to still be there. Those messages will still be there when you get back in the truck, and once you get in the truck, it's usually from point A to point B. That's when you do your phone work. For me, anyways. And
gotcha. Yeah.
So you make your workers leave their phones in the truck too? Or
no,
I
probably should.
Okay. I thought you were saying that's your biggest
it's
drawback on workers. They're just on their phone all the time. So I worked for my father-in-law for a little bit, and if he called anybody on the phone, he'd take everybody's phones. So of course then you felt bad, which I never did have mine taken, but I imagine you'd feel bad because you're the reason nobody's got a phone. But we didn't need them anyways if you're swinging a hammer.
Yeah, and that's the construction thing. What was I, 24? So it started leading into, we got a contract with the modular home company. So, they would sell a modular home, and we would go in and do all the site work. We'd do the basement, septic, driveways, utilities. And then we were actually building, a lot of them would have a porch attached that we'd add to it, an attached garage. And we swung a hammer, built several garages, 30 or 40 garages, several porches, and I really got burnt out on that quick. Over the years, I've built probably 10 houses in total. So I've got the knowledge to build houses, but, man, I hate swinging a hammer anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
So was all that self-taught then, or were you job shadowing or having anybody around you with a lot of experience? Or
No, I mean, it was self-taught, and I think a big thing.
Are the houses still standing?
They are still standing,
okay.
I think. What really pushed me into it, and I'm kind of glad it did, when I was, I believe, 21, I built my first house, the house that we still live in today. And I had no clue. I mean, I'd been around construction, obviously, but to go and build a house from scratch, it was very tough, but, man, I learned a bunch.
Yeah.
I remember borrowing a backhoe. At that time, I got a bigger backhoe from a feller and dug the footers and laid the blocks, and I'd never laid blocks before. And blocks are kind of like drywall. You just can't learn it. It takes repetition many times, and took me probably over a week to lay those blocks on that foundation, and now I probably could do it in an afternoon almost.
Right.
But it was good stuff. I mean, it's you put yourself in those positions to where you have to learn, and you have to, you just have to make things work.
Yeah.
But it teaches you pretty important stuff.
So you went from going back to mowing yards to spraying yards. What was the next thing you picked up?
It was kind of that construction part of things.
Oh, is that where you went into the mobile home?
Yeah, pretty much.
That was the next thing. Okay.
Yeah, and I had that little backhoe that we started to do a lot of digging, trenches, water lines.
Okay.
Yep.
So are we talking early 2000s at this point then?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was probably 25 when I first, a friend of mine in town, I knew he's in real estate. I didn't have a lot of money, but I knew sometimes how to ask the right questions. And I approached him about, maybe doing some real estate. And that's kind of when I got my first, I will say, rental house. I kind of took a place and fixed it up. And believe it or not, the same person that rented that house is still living there today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Been a good renter then.
Yeah.
From when?
When I was 25, so I guess I should have started out that I'm 44 now.
19 years. Man.
Yep.
They could just about had it paid for.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Don't tell them that.
I mean, I financed it, and then it's been several years ago that it was paid off, and I never made a payment, but that's the beauty of
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
cool.
But, yeah, and those opportunities, I'm not as aggressive in real estate anymore. Maybe I should be. I mean, I'm working on that Airbnb across the road, but not so much aggressive in buying. And I think we'll talk a little bit about turning houses, flipping houses, so to speak, and I've done that. I know you've done that. Or
Done a couple, yeah.
Yeah, you're still doing it.
Came from one a little bit ago.
Yeah. Actually, straight from there to here.
And so,
Trying to finish
how
it
many
up.
have you done?
I think we've bought our 22nd one,
That's awesome.
but we've kept some as rentals. We got 5 right now, and we have 1 more to sell. Actually, we got 2 that we're getting ready to sell, so I guess we've sold 15. So
Wow.
15 done and gone, but the rest are rentals or we still own them. So, and since we started in 2014, so.
Well, I'm probably like you. I've had some home runs and I've had some gutter balls.
We've had some doozies.
So I'll tell a quick story. Up on the hill here in town, I'd got an opportunity to buy a house that the basement was messed up. A real nice neighborhood. I mean, super nice neighborhood. And bought the house right. Fixed the basement, dug around the basement, reshored the walls, waterproofed it. Done an excellent job. And the numbers might phase me here a little bit, but I think I got it done in maybe 3 months. Maybe had 160 in it or so and was selling it for $230, $240. And within a week, I had an offer. There was a gal that was moving to town. She's going to be the dean of OUC. And she made an offer. Well, a week later, she did not get the job at OUC.
Oh.
So she wasn't coming to town anymore. It went another year before I sold that house.
Oh, my.
So it went from almost being a complete
Insurance.
grand slam to a fail, epic fail.
So do you remember what time? I'm just kind of trying to feel out when the real estate market, where it was at that time. Like, was that like
So I was-
08 range, or we?
No, it was 2013 or 14 probably.
Okay.
One thing I've learned in houses, the house is worth exactly what somebody's willing to pay for in that area.
All right.
You can't move it, you can't ship it. It is only worth what somebody wanting to move there is worth. So
Yeah, I know.
You've told some good stories. We'll get into those at some point, I'm sure. But just listening to your stories, you get to hear about all walks of life. It seems like.
oh yeah.
So when you started dabbling into that real estate, then I mean, did you end up flipping quite a few houses, or keeping many for rentals, or?
Yeah, it was a mixture of both. Flipping, I hate to use that word, but flipping houses and
Yeah, I don't like to use it either. I don't know why. I call it
HGTV. That's the only reason that term exists.
renovating. It sounds like you're trying to make it nicer instead of just flipping it.
well, they say, and I guess I should have gotten into real estate a little bit sooner, but it was a lot easier to do it back before we had all these TV shows that inspired.
I know. Everybody
these
thinks they can do
do-it-yourselfers.
it right now, don't they?
Yeah.
Everybody's got ideas about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Although I will say, we used to never watch. Like we started flipping, renovating, and we never watched the show until about 4 years into it. And somebody's like, "Well, you watch that show on TV?" Like, no, what show? Well, you guys watch this show? I'm like, well, maybe we should watch a couple. And we have learned. You get to know what the trend is if you want the latest style and.
But one thing about it, most of those trends are going to be
Right.
a year out of date probably by the time they film and edit and put it out.
So we're about a year behind, but it works here in rural Ohio.
Yeah, that's the thing. Those trends that you see are in probably big
Big
cities.
cities, yes. They're ahead of.
We've got a big lag to
Right.
Southern Ohio here.
And a big price lag, too.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I used to think, man, if I can just pick this house up and put it on a trailer and take it to California.
Hey, funny story. We listed a house one time. The address was something Pennsylvania Avenue. And we got an email or a message. Somebody wants to buy it on the spot. And we're like, not even like make an offer. You don't want to look at it? No, I'm ready to buy it. And then we get to looking and talking more, and they're from California. And some scammer had posted the house in California. And, of course, the house in California, we had it listed. It was a little dinky little house. It was like a $100,000 house. It was probably $350,000 house in California. So it was a hot. Anyway, somebody in California saw it, but yeah,
they thought they were getting a deal.
Now. Yeah, they thought it was like, well, no shipping. Sorry.
Yeah.
Speaking of houses, how's the house coming, Brian?
Well, that's the $1 million question. I did order my water line, so if nothing else, I'm going to have a water line going to the middle of nowhere.
You going to plow that in?
I am, yeah. So right now the tractor's hooked to the tile plow. There's no corn in the field. It was a lot easier to think about driving through corn when corn was worth $3.50. Now that it's worth $7, it's about twice as hard to think about driving through it, you might say.
Putting a 4-inch water line in?
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can put that in with the tile plow then?
We're going to find out. I hope so.
That's awesome. As long as the bend isn't too sharp at the bottom, huh?
So the only thing I'm worried about, so we got a really nice tile cart. It'll string out a 3,200-foot roll of tile like nothing. I don't think a 500-foot roll of 2-inch pipe is going to fit on that tile cart, unfortunately.
Probably not.
Because that would make it really good.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's going to be our biggest hiccup. How do you guys put pipe in? I mean, you backhoe it out or excavate it?
Yeah, we just excavate it out. I saw, you might watch Dirt Perfect on YouTube.
Yeah, I seen he built something for his excavator.
Yeah, that looks pretty handy.
Yeah.
I mean, the soils would have to be right for the excavator, but that sounds like a video to me.
So, yeah, it should be breaking ground sometime this summer. So.
Well, that's super exciting. Now, Monroe's probably told you, I won't say it's completely true, but it seems like a lot of people go through the construction process. A lot of them are not happy. Would you concur?
The homeowner, you mean?
Yeah. I won't say unhappy, but it just seems like
it's going to be a test of patience in marriage.
It'll be a test of your marriage. It'll be a test of your contractor.
That's where I was getting at. It's a contractor. It's just, and there's a lot of good contractors, but it just seems like people go over budget.
Yeah. Well, that can happen easily, and especially in this crazy material.
Right. Yeah. So I know when we sat down with the guy that's building for us, he threw me out a price, and I knew talking with Monroe and a couple other guys that materials were going fairly crazy. This was fall of 2020. He sat down with us, gave us a price, but drove us up some blueprints and all this good stuff. And then I was like, "That's awesome, perfect, that'll work." He calls me back about a week later. He goes, "Hey, we're gonna have to tack on about 20 to that." I was like, "Okay." I mean, I kind of figured. He calls me back about a month later. He goes, "Hey, looks like we're about 50 over what I originally told you." And I think we end up being about 60 over what he originally told me. Because I think he was pricing things based on, what he was getting materials at that summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now, obviously, any type of construction, it's tough. But what do you do? I mean, you got projects, you got to keep rolling.
The way we were looking at it, I mean, obviously it would have been perfect if we would have started building it in 2020. Because that was our original plan. And when COVID happened, I was like, let's just wait, see how this plays out. Probably won't take long. 2 years later. But then interest rates, because of the whole pandemic, were record lows. And now it's like, well, now they're going up. We should probably just go ahead and do it. In my opinion, I don't think we're going to save enough by waiting 6 more months versus what we're going to lose on interest rates going up 1.5%.
Right.
So I don't know. Right or wrong, we're building it this summer.
Rock and roll, shake and bake. That's what I'm talking about.
Hopefully you at least miss the spring price hike, because that's probably the most expensive time of the year to build. Everybody's wanting to build.
Yeah. I would say by the time we get to ordering material, it'll probably be, I don't know, mid-June, early July, be my guess.
Yeah.
Did you figure out the electric thing?
How deep into this you want to go? I mean, I'm trying to do underground for 2,000 feet. I don't like electric poles. I mean, farming around them just drives me crazy. The way my driveway looks, I want it to look that way going forward. I don't want them, have to come through and cut all the trees out. I mean, we're building a house a mile off the road for a reason.
Right.
And so that part's going to really suck buying 2,000 feet of conduit.
Yeah. That's what I was kind of alluding to was 3-inch conduit is.
They told me, 3-inch, you're right.
It's crazy right now. Yeah, that's what you'd need for your service, which I'd bought some a month or so ago, and it was almost $80 a stick.
Wow.
$80 a stick
3-inch.
for 3-inch. electric conduit.
I really wish I could figure out a way to get a string and a piece of field tile, because I would have 2 10-foot sticks on the end of it.
Well,
Shop vac.
I don't know if we should talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. You can edit it out if you don't like it. I have talked to folks from the electric companies, both South Central and the other here in town that you're going to use. And I've been told they are allowing that now, in between. So you still have to have the normal gray conduit at each end. But through the middle, I would get very creative.
Well,
talking to some supply stores, they more or less echoed basically what you're saying. And they didn't tell me field tile, but I was told, maybe the conduit could be white.
Yeah, so Schedule 40, you can get that 20-foot sticks. It's going to be a lot cheaper, and that's crazy.
How deep does that soil max go?
6 feet.
Yeah, it's 6 foot. And
I guess that one goes 5 feet.
Oh, it'll still at 5 foot. You're never going to touch that power line.
Yeah, I think where we're sitting right now, I'm 1,800 feet off the road, so not near as far as you probably, but
no. I'm lucky I got a pole within 2,000 feet, so about half the distance.
Yeah, things like that on a construction project can just eat you alive.
Well, then we got to figure in the walk-in vault. Like, that was the main thing on the priority list for me. Like, Kayla's probably going to want like cabinets in the kitchen. They might even have doors. I don't know, but
that's minor details.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
About handles.
The open concept now, so you can see the dishes. You don't need doors.
Yeah,
just put some open shelving is really in right now.
So my sister-in-law, they have open shelves. It looks okay.
Yeah, Jeremy could probably cut you some out, some
live edge open shelves.
Walnut. I see some walnut sticks.
So I'm looking at this Woodmizer thinking, so in the new house, I am going to have a loft over the garage, and that's going to be my YouTube studio / podcast studio. I'm thinking, man, we'll have to get with you about making a podcast table, because I feel like we could make a pretty cool one.
Heck yeah.
Some epoxy and some wood.
Yep. But anyways, back to where we were.
And there's So let's talk about something cool. Let's talk about the Woodmizer behind me.
Okay.
That's
well,
cool.
let's back it up a little bit. So we went from construction, growing your business. When did how do you say this? Carum Creek? Is that how you pronounce it?
Cairn Creek.
So when did this whole thing start? I mean, that's probably when the Woodmizer got here, I'm guessing.
That's true. All right, so I'll go back even just a little bit more. I actually went, I didn't finish college, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Oh, I'm a proud college dropout. First public speaking gig I ever did was at the university I dropped out of.
Yeah.
Great education here.
See?
Join the crowd.
Anywho, I did go to Columbus State first semester, and I was interested in landscape architecture.
Okay. Yep.
I kind of always had aspirations to do something with golf or landscape architecture, something like that. So I did start at Columbus State, and I made it probably 1 year. But one of the things that we would do was one of the classes we'd do tree walks. They had a sister program with Ohio State University. So we'd go over there to do our tree walks and test. And that kind of really sparked my interest for trees. And getting this Woodmizer, several years later, it's taken it to a whole new level. And that sounds kind of cheesy, but there's a lot of cool stuff with trees. It really is.
Oh, yeah. You went from liking trees to liking the cutting trees, huh?
Yeah. I don't know how I would go with that, but back to the Cairn Creek. And that's kind of a whole story in itself. I've always wanted a big piece of land. Always have. And
so I guess we should say we are on site at Cairn Creek right now.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
Is a big piece of land.
Yep, that's where we're at.
I put, let's go back probably when I was 30. So we all have a point in our lives that we're maybe younger, and we have all the time and energy in the world. Then maybe when you're older, you've got money but no time. Your physical ability's not right. So when I was around 30 to 32, 33, I really started hitting it hard to find a bigger piece of land. And how did I try? Well, I wrote letters and put in the Gazette, just pleading, father of four, blah, blah, blah.
I see a sign, local family looking to buy land in this area.
So I put yard signs out.
Right there.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Wow.
And now I had criteria. I really wanted a creek. I wanted so many acres. I wasn't just buying any piece of land.
I'm guessing you wanted it fairly close to Chillicothe, like this general area.
I had even had townships picked out. So I was very picky about the land, where it was at, how it was situated and whatnot. And I just struck out forever and ever. And like the yard signs you see, I put them strategically in the areas that I wanted land. And all that happened with those is my buddies would steal them and put them in their trucks. And
They make great target holders.
went down. Somebody called me. Was like, "Why you got on the side of the Valero gas station?" I was like, "Geez." So they had like taken 4 of them and just put them at the gas
I
station.
think I remember seeing
Yeah,
those.
it was right down the road from your shop.
Good
True
friend-
story.
Good friends you got there.
Yeah. But anyways, that did not work. I mean, it was absolute strikeout. I didn't have any interest. I even went on the auditor site, and I would hand pick parcels, and I had a pre-built letter that I would send out. Nothing ever worked, and I had realtors looking, and just kind of got discouraged. And I think when I was 40 turning 41, one Sunday morning, my ritual was I would look at realtor.com pretty much every morning, and this piece of property came up. And that Sunday, I actually came over, met the person that owned it. We walked it. I actually brought the 4-wheel over and drove most of it, and was able to get the deal done pretty much that week. So like I said, that's going back to when I was 41. And
So you've had this piece of ground for roughly 3 years then?
that's correct. I think it's going on the 4th year. And when we bought this piece of property, it's around 140 acres and no infrastructure at all, no roads, nothing was back to this point.
Were there trees in this area? Was this pasture? or anything?
There was a strip of trees kind of where we're at right here.
Okay.
Technically, there's about 20 acres pasture and 120 acres of timber is what it boils down to be. And, man, I hit the ground running. Within a week, we had the camper. So within a week, I had the road put in, started getting utilities back here. I mean, we touched on electric. That was all stuff that we wanted to get that camper over here as soon as possible and start enjoying it. And back to what I said a minute ago is what I just felt like it was a time in my life that I still had the energy and I'd built knowledge enough to do this stuff and not have to pay people to come in and dig my electric line or, just build stuff. So this actual building we're in now, I call it the mill shop. It's actually constructed 95% from that Woodmizer in the background.
Okay.
The posts, the siding, the 2x4
I didn't know
walls.
Woodmisers could do steel.
The structural part. That's why I said 90%. And it's been a great asset. We built a horse barn out of it. Several projects. It's just been handy, and my claim, the strongest statement I can say about, and I want to say Woodmizer, but any portable sawmills, I wish I would have gotten the game 20 years ago. It's something you never think about.
Yeah.
And
It's a little bit of a dying hobby, it seems like. My dad had one, and actually was a Woodmizer as well.
sweet.
And we cut out some barn siding for people, which is what a lot of yours probably is. But there's not that many of them around. Not little ones like this.
Right.
Just a big commercial lumber mills and stuff like that. But
Well, they're very popular right now.
I'll say I think it's coming back. Like I can think of 3 or 4,
well,
like
maybe it
pretty
is.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so a Woodmizer sawmill, which I think most popular portable sawmill brands, right now you're looking at 60 weeks plus if you buy a new one.
Okay. Wow.
That's wow. I wouldn't have guessed that.
And the biggest thing is the resale value right now. Luckily for me, I got in this game right before everything went crazy, and this one came up for sale around between Dayton and Cincinnati, and was able to get it right, which now I could sell that for probably 30% more than what I paid for it so many years ago.
Wow.
I mean, 100% I could sell it for more than what I paid for it.
Wow.
Not because it's a centerpiece on YouTube. It's just that they're
Well, that leads to my next point. So we haven't mentioned your YouTube channel yet, where you're documenting, all the things you got going on here at Caram Creek. Like for the listeners, like I don't think I can stress enough how interesting the YouTube channel is. Like you're hearing this guy talking about this 140-acre piece of property, but there's always something interesting, right down to a golf course going on here. And, of course, the most famous contest in the world, the jerk-off.
Oh, we got to talk about that, right?
Oh, man. I saw the sign.
It's not what you're thinking,
I
folks.
did not want to ask about it.
Let's circle back to the jerk off.
Okay.
Yeah, we need
save
to get that one
There's
cleared
a whole,
up quick.
There's a whole scoreboard here with a bunch of names. 2021 jerk off legends. Whoa. Okay.
For retention rate, we'll wait and talk about the jerk off at the end. Stay tuned.
The suspense.
But go ahead and mention your YouTube channel and where people can, the name of it and where they can find it, because it is interesting, and it's not just your typical, it's not just a typical homesteader-style channel. I mean, there's always something different and cool going on there.
Here's the way I would describe to YouTube. It's everything that you want to do as a handyman. It's everything. It's pretty cool.
Well, back to the Woodmizer, that's where my YouTube started.
Well, you got to say the name is what I'm getting at.
Karen Creek.
There we go.
Welcome back to Karen Creek. I'm Jeremy here in Southern Ohio.
That's the intro.
That's every intro. But the YouTube thing, when I was looking at sawmills, the Woodmizer sawmills, I'll be frank, I was very new to YouTube. So we're going back 4 years or so. I didn't watch YouTube. I knew my kids watched YouTube, and I just thought it was something they played on or whatever. So I got hooked on watching YouTube, watching Woodmizer sawmills. That's really what started it. And my boys, I've got 4 boys. I should have started with that, I guess. But my 4 boys, they were all into the games and especially YouTube. So it was something that kind of brought us together when we first started recording. And like I said, it started with me searching around for Woodmizers, and I actually got to meet Nathan Elliott down in Tennessee. He's got his channel's comparable to yours. That's kind of what got it started. And we started off, one of my boys was editing the videos, and I liked starting it and like to say that I like documenting the process, because back when we started the YouTube, we've built so many buildings, and most of it's, been recorded. And would you agree that YouTube's going to be around, like the footage? I hope.
I would think it'll be around for at least the next 10 years, I would think.
So I kind of always thought it'd be cool to be able to look back in several years and see some of the things, how they've grown and pretty much sprouted from nothing. And
Quite literally, you're using a sawmill to get the lumber. They're literally sprouting from nothing.
Yeah, and you can maybe tell me more about this, but do you think it's harder now to get traction on YouTube than it was?
So when I started my channel in 2018, people told me that then. So I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, for farming, it was a little. So farming's usually, you were talking about small town USA being like a year behind like big city trends. Seems like ag's always about 4 or 5 years behind trends. So YouTube was exploding in 2018, but farming YouTube was just kind of taking off.
Okay.
So it was a little easier, I guess, then. But I mean, people were telling me that then too. So,
well, like you guys mentioned, we, I watched the YouTube videos on how to get better at YouTube, and I've studied that. And it seems like everybody says you got to niche down to one particular thing, and we definitely don't do that. Like we're freaking wrecking cars, doing the autocross. We're the neighbors in Vegas. I mean, sometimes we're building cool stuff, and then sometimes it's all over the place.
Captain Rondo.
Rondo.
Oh, we'll get to him.
Okay.
But that's okay with me. I'm okay. I mean, it's the main point at this point is to record all this stuff, and there's definitely a certain group of people that's digging what we're doing and hanging on for our shenanigans also. So it's been really cool. I guess wish I would have started that sooner too.
Yeah, same. I mean, for sure.
Yeah, and it's taught me a lot. I've met a lot of cool people, and my channel is small fries, definitely small fries. But I'm having fun. I enjoy a challenge, and this has definitely been a challenge. Just with me getting comfortable, it's just a freaking camera you're holding, but at the same time, I remember definitely the first couple videos, it was like, what's that over there?
Yeah.
Like, whoa. And my son Colby was recording me at the time, so we got the camera. He's standing behind it, and, Dad don't ever talk unless it's something really important. So I'm trying to just talk in the camera, and he's just rolling.
Oh, that makes it hard.
So I think you talked about in your first podcast, that's something I've not got accustomed to yet, is I'm not as good on the camera when there's other people around.
Yeah.
I just haven't got over that hump yet. Like
It seems a little weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know why that is, but
you should see the video I did on the roof in town. Really bad. Actually, did not make the YouTube.
So Monroe has a YouTube channel called MT Homes for the listeners, so check that out. He hasn't uploaded a video in a year, but he's got some good ones.
Yeah,
I got some in the pipe.
I was creeping on him, and I was like, "This dude's ghosting us. What's going on?"
Life is what's going on.
Yeah.
How long ago did you start your YouTube?
It's probably been 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, growth's been slow, but
So you basically started it to document this property?
that's correct. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, it's named after it.
I was going to say, the name, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of figured that. But.
And you might be interested to know why do we call it Karen Creek, which our family's always been known to name stuff, the dump trucks. Everything's got a freaking name, It's just the way it is. But I knew going into a piece of property.
You want to name it the Back 40?
Well, we used to have something named the Back 40.
Oh, should I ask what?
No, it was Speedway. We actually raced cars, but that was a long time ago.
Oh, my. That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, back in our NASCAR days, man. We all about died.
What? Nah, I don't know. Maybe we should go down that alley because I'll get to talking and we won't talk about nothing else.
We need to get back to the creek.
Yeah, Cairn Creek. So it's Cairn Creek.
Yeah, so Cairn Creek. So when we bought this property, actually before we bought the property, that Sunday I was telling you about coming over, the guy was buying off of, he's like, there's some Indian stuff way back in there. Like this was around June, so it's very thick. But I moseyed up in there and found a bunch of these weird rock piles, several of them. And since then, we've cleaned that area all up. So I studied, what are these rock piles? And it turns out they're called cairns. So the Native Americans used them for, A, a burial ground, or B, for ceremonial purposes. So it was easy to come up with that name once we learned that part of it.
And now yuppies like to put them at, like, Cocking Hills.
Yes. So the modern-day cairn is, you see it on trails or mountain peaks when, they...
Is that what in the creek?
They'll like stack up a pile of rocks. Make it look like a cone.
Whenever I went to Hocking Hills, I looked at that. I'm like, there's no way that happened naturally.
Yep. So that's a cairn.
Learned something new today.
Yeah.
It's a mini cairn compared to what's on your property, though.
I thought a cairn usually asked for the manager. That's what TikTok told me.
Spelled a little bit different.
Okay, gotcha.
Same concept, I reckon. So the cairns on our property here are, I said A or B. I don't know what they're for. I'm not going to dig them up. So
right.
Either way, they're located on a hillside. We're in proximity to Rocky Knob, which Rocky Knob, even down on your farm, if you can pick it out pretty easy because the side of it's slanted off. And as a Native American traveling back in the day, this would have been easy to find. And I continue to study what I can of them. There's not a lot out there, but whatever it is, it's a cool story. That's what we started with. And
did you find any Indian memorabilia or arrowheads or anything like that?
No, not really. Not really looked a whole lot.
Gotcha.
It's one of those things that it's up in the woods pretty deep, and I love going up there. And like you'd said something about time, that's kind of one of my happy places to go up there and work on stuff. And I just haven't been back up there much to do much.
Yeah, I get it. Yep. So when you bought this place, like how soon after that did the YouTube channel start then?
It was probably a year and a half or so. Almost 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the building we're sitting in, there was absolutely zero footage of it. I guess we kind of started getting the footage when I was working on the horse barn down there.
Okay.
What would be your favorite thing about YouTubing?
I guess.
This is where you're supposed to say me and Brian, but okay.
You reckon?
It's your story.
Actually, it's in those lines. I believe it's the meeting people and kind of learning from people, feeding off other people, and I mean it feels good to do some of the things that we can do and document it. And then when you're in town or you get emails from people from out of town, out of the country, I think that's a pretty cool aspect of it.
Right. I think for me, a lot of it was going to, like you touched on it earlier, is being able to look back years from now and to see the progress, what the property looked like, what it looks like now, how things have changed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And there's been several things in my life that I've done that, looking back, I thought I was the bomb at how I done it or why I done it. But now I know that it was stupid or wasn't as cool as what I thought it was. But I guess that's part of the human natures. But I guess it's cool that once you get to a certain point, you realize that, hey, I think I'm doing something cool now. 10 years, it probably won't be cool, but at least you know that.
Yeah.
So, like, professionally, do you watch other people in similar lines of work as yourself?
On YouTube?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I enjoy watching Nathan Elliott down in Tennessee. Like I mentioned, I went down and poured some concrete for him. And I enjoy watching his stuff. And, yeah, there's several people. Believe it or not, I actually like watching some of the stuff that's not to do with my line of work.
Oh, yeah, I'm the same.
I mean, I enjoy several different content type stuff, but not so much the stuff I do.
Yep. Yep, I get it. Yep. So for me personally, like watching YouTube, I mean, I never knew that YouTube, like I thought that's where you posted like, oh, I crashed this car in a demo derby kind of thing. Like I didn't realize that people just told their life story on there until I started doing it. And then it opened my eyes up to that not everyone farms like we do here in Southern Ohio. I thought Dad had it figured out. I thought we were doing it perfect. I was like, yeah, everyone's trying to be like us, clearly. And I was wrong. There's just so many different ways of farming and stuff. I didn't know if you had something similar. Like, have you learned anything, I guess, different projects or anything from other people? Or
I wouldn't say distinctly on that. I can say that there's several different ways to do what I thought I could do. That's something I guess I've learned on YouTube.
Well, I will say I've had a couple of videos that did pretty well, and I've learned that in the comment section, no matter how you do it, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yep.
There's a lot of experts on you, but there's also a lot. You far outweighs the positive comments, far outweigh the negative for sure. So I don't want to act like it's all that, but yeah.
I've always heard welding gets people fired up. Like if you weld on one of your videos.
Oh, I thought that was supposed to be like a welding sparks gets people fired up.
No, I've always heard that like you could be the best welder in the world and you weld something and you're going to just get taken to the.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Yeah. So in the farming world, like if you're doing tillage, you're going to hear from everyone that doesn't do tillage and why you shouldn't be doing tillage. And if you're doing no tillage whatsoever, you're going to hear how you're doing it wrong that way too.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can probably relate to this. Once we started the YouTube channel, I think our third video ever, I came up with a good idea to name it My Woodmizer Sucks. So you can imagine your third video ever. It's pretty terrible. I mean, it's very terrible. A lot of pauses, just.
Mine was great.
well
masterpiece.
They were bad, yes.
So basically, I ramble on, and at the end of the video, I'm like, my Woodmizer sucks the will out of you to go to Lowe's. You know, it was total clickbait.
Sucked people right into that one, didn't you?
Man.
Oh.
It got some people fired up. I mean, it done super good on views, but it wasn't good for the channel.
There's a balance, right?
No, it was like, yeah.
What, if anything, would you say would be negative about having a YouTube channel or putting your life or part of your life out there for everybody to see?
No, I don't mind that at all. I can't stand, which I probably shouldn't say this, but the time it takes me to do something. You know, a simple.
I mean, when filming or just?
Yeah, when filming.
Yes,
yeah.
I 100% agree with that.
Man, I mean, sometimes I dread it just because I know that I can go do this in no time. But if I really want to do the cameras, the battery's dead, or I love editing, I really do. But that's the biggest drawback is it just slows me down.
How long does it take you to edit a video?
3 to 4 hours.
You're right. You're with me. I'm with you right there. But Brian, he's like 30 minutes, hour.
Well, this guy does a bunch of them. He's just.
What'd you say, 700 now?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I guess what gets me on the timeline is just, I guess, probably the music. And
yeah, adding music adds another, that makes it take longer.
Then I get Rondo on there sometimes, and people can't understand him, and got to edit out all the pauses. I hope you're listening, Rondo. I'm surprised he's not over here right now.
I was kind of wondering if he was going to. That's why we brought the fourth mic. I wasn't sure if he'd be grandstanding.
So this afternoon,
I was hoping to get some words of wisdom from Rondo. Don't pee in the wind because it'll come back on you.
Oh yeah.
So we probably ought to mention who Rondo is here, and that was actually one of our questions.
Okay, so Rondo is a neighbor. We live on this, or we don't actually live here at Karen Creek, if you need to know that. But this is a little dead end road, and there's only a handful of people that live on this road. And when we came here, Rondo was a neighbor, and for probably almost a year, he really didn't come around. And he finally came around, and he kind of fit right in, and he just loves being over here. And there's times in the summer when maybe during the day I'll stop by here to get a piece of equipment or just grab something, and the dust is not settled. When I pull in and Rondo's watching, he comes rolling in right behind me. He just loves it, and we're happy for him to.
Probably a good guy to keep an eye on the place, too, if you're not here.
Yeah. And we just was able to take him to Vegas, and, Rondo's never been out of town, never been on an airplane, never been on an escalator. Several firsts for Rondo.
That was interesting watching him.
The captain
Vegas.
hat really set it over the top. So for the viewers, you need to go check that video out because it was pretty funny.
And that just happened. There's 8 of us, and we stopped at Cracker Barrel in Cincinnati going to the airport. And we all went to leave. I went to the bathroom, came out to the Suburban, and they're all just laughing. I was like, "What the heck's going on?" Rondo's in the back seat with that captain's hat, just grinning ear to ear. And
is that how Captain Rondo came about?
Yeah,
it's pretty spur of the moment.
He was Inspector Rondo before that.
Oh,
because he's always inspecting my work. But no, he put that hat on, that captain's hat, and he rolled with it.
So no relation or anything like that, just
relation.
Guy next door.
I just met him a couple of years ago. And I'm not throwing Rondo under the bus by any means, but he's a simple fellow. He don't need a lot. And 2 years ago, we had a birthday party for him, a surprise birthday party for him. And he'd never had a birthday party in his whole life for him.
Wow.
And that old man came through that door. We had this place packed, and he bawls. He's very, very emotional. He cries right now telling people about it.
Wow.
And
that's awesome.
that's one of the
So
coolest things ever.
what did he say when you're like, hey, I'm going to take you to Vegas?
We actually snuck out in a video, and Rod and I, the group of us, kind of talked about beforehand. And for his birthday here this year, I made a big game up. I made like 3 envelopes and made him pick an envelope, and was like, Rondo, there's 3 places in here, and whatever you pick, that's where we're going. Well, Vegas was in all 3 envelopes. And I told him that later. So, the game goes on, and he picks it, and he opens it up, and he gets teary-eyed. And he was just excited to go mobile out of Ohio, out of Ross County, really.
Right.
Vegas put a hurting on him. Just a lot of walking.
Okay, gotcha.
For real. I mean,
financially or
well, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
That hurt us all, actually.
I left $1,400 out there. Back when I didn't have $1,400 to leave out there.
So oddly enough, whenever I contacted Jeremy about doing a podcast, you were still out there.
Yeah.
What happened there? Because it doesn't sound like you were planning on being out there then.
No, we were supposed to leave Sunday morning. So Saturday night, we played like we were leaving Sunday morning. I mean, financially and just wore plumb out. Sunday morning, we get up, Allegiant sends us a text. Your flight has canceled to Cincinnati. CVG's done. So we scrambled, and we couldn't find nothing. Our buddy Rod, he's a pilot in the Air Force. We tried to talk him into, let's go to the Air Force base and get us home. We were just done. I mean, we got some slack back home. Everybody's like, oh, poor you stuck in Vegas for 3 more days. But
I believe that. I believe I sent you that text.
We were really just done, I've always felt like Vegas is cool for a certain amount of time.
And you had exceeded that time.
Yep. And 100%, if we'd known we could not leave Sunday, we probably would have financially positioned ourselves different Saturday night.
Honey, I need more money.
We call it the bulldozer. It's like you push it all in. Black did not hit. Yeah.
But if it would have.
Oh, we probably would have done it again. I mean,
last night.
Yeah.
So that video that you put out on that trip, like I can definitely see why that takes you 3 or 4 hours. Because like when I make a video, it ain't anything like that. I mean, it was a very well edited video, I thought.
Yeah, I had a lot of B-roll and a lot of just find the music like that to fit the Vegas theme. And I don't know, the music, it does kind of suck.
I mean, I've been told that.
Just finding music sucks.
Oh, I've been told my music sucks.
Oh, I hear that all the time. Like I don't think people realize you can't just go rip off a song off the radio. I mean, you have to pay to use a song, and unless you have a lot of money, you're not paying to use a really good song.
So if you do a time lapse, in your opinion, should you put music to it or just dead silence?
Music.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
And I turn it way down. I mean, you don't want blaring or nothing, but I get that quite a bit. Like, would have been way better without music. I'm like, I can't watch a time lapse. Like, I need some fast music because I'm working real fast here. I need it to make it look like I'm going fast. But initially, I did have it too loud. But
I always try to make it as goofy as possible. Just kind of try to make fun of myself a little bit.
Some dramatic music.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes without the music, my stuff just gets boring. It makes me feel better sometimes to.
I agree.
Put some music in there.
And there again, all the people that like it probably don't comment, and then you have the few that don't like it.
Right.
So it may seem like more people don't like it than actually do.
So we were just getting into the golf course. Is it right behind us?
Yeah, it's right behind us from this mill shop. Golf was something, when I was in high school, golf was almost like a vehicle for me. I was pretty decent at it. And moving through high school into the adult life, where I was good at golf, it really helped me make connections. I don't know if you guys play golf, but
once a year, I'm terrible at it. I love it.
Once a decade.
So golf. Like
if you need a golf cart driver, I could do that.
Heck yeah, golf was a vehicle that it helped me get, I think, jobs, where I was decent at golf for scrambles and stuff, people would always want me to be on their team. And it was a big, I think, boost in my business life.
I think that's one thing people take for granted, even in the farming community. Like, personal relationships means a lot, especially when you're doing any kind of business that involves people other than just yourself.
Right, 100%.
I mean, some of the most successful people I know in business are borderline alcoholics, and most of their clients are people they drink with.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's kind of like golf.
yeah, and oddly enough, they all golf.
Yeah. So, on a golf course, you play them scrambles, you're 4 or 5 hours, you can talk about a lot of stuff.
A lot of time to make business decisions.
Yeah. The golf is, I always wanted a golf hole, and that, back to what I was saying about finding land, I wanted a spot for a golf hole.
So you were thinking about that at the initial purchase then?
That is correct. I mean,
wasn't just spur of the moment. This was always part of the plan.
No, in the golf, we call it the Spud Run Golf Course, and that's even deeper because our mutual friend Rod Jones, as kids, we always wanted to build a golf course back in the back pastures, and we was going to call it Spud Run Golf because they're potato farmers. So we had the name picked out and everything. Well,
watching your videos, I was like, man, I didn't know Jeremy lived on Spud Run. Because there's a road called Spud Run.
There is a road not too far from here, but so that's why it was called Spud Run Golf. Is me and Rod's aspirations from many moons ago. But the golf hole, it's the real deal. I hauled in that sand. Actually, I didn't haul it in. I paid to have it hauled in from up around Akron. Super expensive. I mean, to build a golf green. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a special mix for the.
I was gonna say
for the root zone. And I knew when I started, I wanted to do it right. There's a whole layer of drainage and gravel underneath of it. And
so it's not just going out there and cutting your grass really, really low.
No, it was a whole process. But I like doing stuff right the first time, and I think I actually had made a video, and I think it cost me nearly $11,000 or $12,000 just for the.
I think you said 11 in the video.
Okay, so
because after you told me about that golf channel, I had to go check it out.
Until the army worms got me last year. Oh my goodness. The army worms destroyed it.
Army worms.
Oh, you didn't remember it? Well, it was kind of a big deal killing everyone's yards there for a while last fall.
Yeah. And
looks like you just sprayed a yard Roundup.
Yeah, they came in and literally within a couple of days it was Dunsky.
Wow.
I've got fescue in it didn't get the golf green, but it got the fairway.
So what do you think kept it out of the green, or just luck, or was it a different kind of grass?
So in my studies, they don't like the short bent grass. And plus my green area, I had a strict program of fungicides, insecticides, and I think that happened too, or helped. Now the fairway, I did not have insecticide applications down. So I think that's what happened. But man, I touched in that video, I was trying to figure out what was going on. I mean, I dealt with army worms before, but not total annihilation in 2 days. It never happened.
Well, it was pretty crazy in that video you're showing drone footage of less than a week ago. And then, then he shows what it looked like at that point in time, and it was dust.
Yeah, I was talking to agronomist and the local extension agent. I talked to him. He actually came out. And at first, and I'm not putting him down anyway, but he at first said I was mowing it too low. I was like, man, I've been mowing it this low all year, and it's been just pimped out. And that was his first idea. Well, he had taken pictures, went back, and I think he reached out to somebody in Columbus. And then he came back. He said, it's army worms. For some reason, it's happening. And I think I'd put it on Facebook, and like Rod Jones checked his, and they had it. And it was just like a week there that they came in hard, and they came in fast. And
yeah, we were kind of worried about in wheat, because apparently they'll take out a wheat crop too if you don't catch it in time. But luckily, we never had that issue.
Yeah, it's but that's one of those lessons, man, that you'll remember. And I want to be proactive this year instead of reactive. That's for daggone sure.
How many yards is your hole here?
So I've got 7 tee boxes. So we've got from a par 5 to par 3s.
So it's all shooting into the same.
Yeah, it's one,
same green.
Yep. But I actually work on that thing more than I play on it, believe it or not. But like my kids
is that
play
part
on
of the enjoyment of it?
Yeah, for me, it 100% is. I enjoy.
Who else mows his own golf course? I mean,
yeah, I mean it's
not many. I mean, if you guys are interested in this, it is like I care absolutely none about golf, but it was pretty interesting to watch the process. I mean, it was different.
Yeah, I harp on it that I enjoy working on it more. It's I won't say it's a piece of art, but it kind of is. That, and I'm not done yet. I want to work on it forever. I can't wait to retire so I can work on it more.
Yeah. Adding any holes or just you leaving it as it is?
It's wide open. Yeah, I've thought about adding another hole back this way, and you could play back and forth. And when all the boys come over for holiday weekends and stuff, we have a ball on that thing.
I bet.
Yep.
Do you make them fix their divots?
No, they're all just, their etiquette is terrible.
I'd be a divot making machine.
No, they drive in the wrong places. No.
So do you have a newfound respect for golf courses in town now?
I've always had that respect, but yeah, but they have fun.
Yeah. Well, speaking of having fun out here, we got to touch on the jerk off now.
All right, let's talk about the jerk off. So isn't that a crazy name? And
the first time I ever seen any mention of it, I was like, "What in the world is the jerk off?"
There's kids on here.
Yeah.
So that's funny you say kids. Our youngest, he's 8 now, but last year at 7, the teacher's called my wife and was like, "Your son's talking about a jerk off this weekend." That's a true story, 100% true story. So, other than the clickbait name, me and actually one of my friends, several years ago, we loved cooking deer jerky. So we'd always talk about on college football, we'll get together, we'll just cook jerky all day, and how good will it smell? We'll watch football. So me taking it to the next level, once we got this place, I was like, we'll cook jerky, and we'll see who's got the best jerky, and then we'll play some games. So we've had it, this will be 2 years, or maybe 3 years. 2 years. So we've got a full day of events, and the end of the day concludes with a jerky competition. You cook jerky, and it's got to be cooked on site. But through the day, while the jerky's cooking, we do a long gun, 300-yard shot, a high deer gun, 100-yard shot, clay pigeons, pistol, bow and arrow. I mean, there's several different competitions that takes the whole freaking day. Well, last year was probably 40 or 50 people that competed.
Wow.
And basically over the day's time, you get points for finishing in the top 3. And then at the end of the day, you take all these points, and then we arrive at whoever's got the most points is the champion. And thankfully, last year I won the jerk off. I'm king ding-a-ling.
So does the...
Actually, this was the 3rd year.
Okay.
Because
What's the prize?
The little trophy, it's a little paddle, cutting board that...
Oh.
Did you make the trophy?
No, but the winner gets to keep that. And actually, we do put some money in. So each event, you can get some monetary awards. And then...
He's paying for the property. One jerk off at a time.
Well, this would be, like I said, year 3, and I struggled the first couple of years. And just a total day of fun. The chainsaws.
No doubt. That sounds like a blast for an outdoorsman.
Yeah, we do the chainsaw, or we take the track home, we'll grab a log, and you start on both ends, and it's like single elimination.
I see the crosscut. Has it made the competition yet?
No. We're all kind of old and fat, like to drink beers. That's way too hard. Like, you got pull a trigger.
Is there a beer drinking competition?
No.
That's the after party.
Yeah. Last year, I won't say there's a lot of beer drinking going on early, but there was a fellow from the NRA that wanted to come out and help.
Really?
And it had me a little nervous because there may have been a couple of folks drinking beer while the gun competitions were going on. I'm not saying they were in the gun competition, but you just got to be careful.
Yeah, beer and alcohol don't mix.
No.
Beer and guns don't mix it, or alcohol and guns.
So we do all the gun competitions, obviously, first thing in the morning, get them over with. And then
right.
Then we can mess with the chainsaws.
Lock them up.
I will say there's, chainsaws. But the chainsaw is the most fun competition because not only do we have 40 people or so playing, there's another 100 people watching.
So I was going to ask, are the chainsaws theirs or yours?
No, you bring your own.
Okay.
So we have a class, big class, small class. And
Let's say, can I bring my 395 and rock out with someone cutting on a 40cc saw?
You'd be in the open class.
That's not that open.
Are you charging admission yet? Because that sounds like you could almost charge for people to come watch.
No, there's
big enough.
No, and I don't know how far we'll go into this, but that's something I've struggled with here at Canyon Creek is the county has turned me into a commercial property.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we bought this place, like I said, 140 or some acres, and they'd actually done a paper split and split the front 20 acres off, and it's zoned commercial because they said I had a campground, which we do have some camper hookups, and we camp and have a good time for July 4th, Labor Day, Memorial Day. And what's kind of interesting about that whole story is I tried to fight it. There's actually commissioners that come out here and hang out and camp. I won't say there's important people, but there's people that can make decisions that come out here and hang out. But having said that, say this, I do a lot of work for the county, a lot of construction work. So I kind of gave up on fighting it, and I just dealt with it. But in one of our meetings, that's what they said, that you're charging people to come to your place. It's commercial. And I said, no, we don't charge. So I got to be careful with what I talk about charging. But we have an entry fee, and that entry fee on the jerk-off all goes back to, it's 100% back into the contestants.
Right.
That seems a little bit ridiculous. I mean, that they would do that. But.
Yeah. The property taxes are it went crazy, you can imagine.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and technically, anything I do out here commercially, I'd have to have blueprints, inspections, and as you can see, most stuff I build with is not stamped as approved lumber because it's straight off the sawmill. That doesn't. Oh man. But like I said, it's kind of calmed down, and we're just rolling with it.
Sounds like an interesting property. Speaking of that, you said you have an Airbnb you're working on.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to know a little more about that because we're actually getting ready to start one as well, our first one. So,
the Airbnb, this is a piece of property came up directly across from Carrion Creek that I paid way too much for it, but it was one of those deals that
only comes up for sale once.
Yes, and in my time,
famous last words.
I've had potential purchases that I've balked at and not taken advantage of that I regretted later. And like I said earlier, this is a dead-end road. There's only so many houses. This property actually came up for sale, and I was able to buy it, paid way too much. Complete renovation. I mean, it was a block wall, and I pretty much took the concrete floor out. Completely gutted. So we're jumping into the Airbnb thing, and I'm hoping it'll kind of piggyback off what we've done here at Carrion Creek. I've had a lot of interest from folks all over the United States that's wanting to come and stay at that, and hopefully just kind of come over and meet us. And
so that's definitely a different YouTube take for sure.
Yeah.
Most guys are trying to ask for privacy, and you're building an Airbnb to come stay at.
It's going to cost them. I mean, you get paid to play, right? But not paying here. They're paying over there.
Right.
But, yeah, I've pretty much documented most of that process on the YouTube, and we're getting close. We're getting really close to getting done. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no doubt. So it's basically, is it an old barn?
It was actually a house.
Oh, it was a house.
Yeah, it was actually a house. That's what everybody kind of says is a barn. It's got the Gabriel type roof.
Right, that's what made me think it was a barn.
Yeah, it was actually a house. It hadn't been lived in for several years. But the neighbors, they can go back and say who lived here that, over the last several years. They know the people. And funny story now is that it sat vacant and just completely grown up. And my claim to fame is if I want to buy something, obviously I try to make friends with the person. I'll take them a pie or whatever. And I took this dude pies, and no. He said no. And then next thing I know, it's on realtor.com, and I'm not looking. And the old pie trick failed me.
Oh, man. We had the same thing happen to us. We had a property we were interested in. It was on the lake.
I got to take a tinkle. Where's the best place?
Bathroom.
You guys just keep talking.
Right here on second door to left.
We needed this piece of land for lake access. And we asked the people if we would, would you be willing to sell off this lot? Because it was deeded separately and everything. Would you be willing to sell this? Because they lived right next to it. And they're like, oh, well, we'll think about it. We'll let you know. It wasn't a week later. The whole property was up for sale, which we didn't want to pay. Couldn't afford the whole property. I mean, it was a nice piece of land. So the new owners buy it. So we go to the new owners and we're like, hey, would you want to sell this piece of property? And would you know it, a week later, that piece of property was getting ready to be listed. But luckily, our realtor was listing it. She's like, hey, did you mention wanting a piece of property down here? And we're like, yeah, we do. So we were able to buy it before it hit the market. But I don't think people, they must not like dealing with individuals. They want to go through a realtor. They want to list it or whatnot. But that was our experience with that. And I don't know what, that was different for me.
That sounds just like our experience, for sure.
Are you planning on doing more Airbnbs or just...
I don't know.
See how the first one works out?
Yeah, and from what I can tell is it might be a little bit late in the Airbnb game.
I was wondering that, yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
I think in general, it's maybe peaked.
Right.
But like I said, I'm hoping with the feel of what we got, like more of a cabin feel, and it's against state property. So there's some more assets I think will help that. I'm hoping.
Right.
And
well, being a unique stay will help you.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of Airbnbs that are just like a house, or
right.
There's even hotels on Airbnb. So being a unique getaway, I think will help stay in the game longer than maybe just a run of the mill.
Start advertising. There's a golf course right across the road.
Yeah. I do have some other vacant properties throughout Ross County, probably 6 or 7 properties that there's no structure on them at all. So let's get this first one done, see how it flows. I mean, obviously there's a lot more hands-on than a rental.
Yes. I'll be curious for us, which I'm sure for you as well, like how much work goes into one of those.
Yeah.
On a weekly basis, really, cleaning it or...
Looks like the biggest pain in the butt would be someone that stays one night.
Well,
because you're going to have to go in there.
2-night minimum.
Yeah, I think we'll do a 2-night minimum.
Which I guess if they pay the cleaning fee, because that's separate from the booking fee. So if they pay the cleaning fee, they pay your cleaning person to come clean it after one night stay, which could be half or a third of a night's stay.
Yeah, I was new to it, and we were down in Augusta, Georgia, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we rented one. And I was anxious to get the app and rent one just to see the user's perspective. And yeah, it was like $190 a night or something, and the cleaning fee for 3 days was like $400 or something.
Well, there you go. If you're willing to pay the cleaning fee, I guess, how many nights you want to stay.
Yeah.
Because that cleaning fee is a one-time, unless you stay for over like a week or something.
Yeah, right.
I think they're definitely pretty. So at the National Farm Machinery Show, a group of YouTube friends of mine, they all stayed in Airbnb. And if you've ever been down there, hotel rooms in Louisville that week, I mean, you're doing good to find one under $400 a night. And I mean, they stayed down there the whole week for like $500.
Right.
So, I mean, they were a ways off from the show, but I mean, they had a really good time. There might have been a go-kart that was found in a garage that was promptly flipped.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to get that guy on the podcast at some point.
Across there, we're going to do a hot tub, and like I said, I've documented the whole thing, so I'm hoping we can kind of parlay all that together. People that are staying that maybe they're not fans of the Karen Creek, but they could still be able to watch some videos or whatnot to see how the floor was done. We've done a stamp floor. We've done concrete countertops. We've tried to tell a story with most of what we've done with the interior maple cut on the Woodmizer, and we've built a story around this remodeling process.
Yeah, those countertops. It's funny because watching your video and building some of that, I didn't watch all of them, but I've watched some, and it's funny how many things you did in that video that I've just recently done as well. Concrete countertops, that hog panel railing. I just got done doing one of those. I'm like, man, this is crazy. I guess we're following the same trends. But we did, on our last house, we did concrete countertops, but I screwed them up. So I was interested to watch yours, and I tell you what happened. So we poured just a little slab, like an 18-inch, because I've done sidewalks and a few driveways, but not a lot of concrete. I'm more of a carpenter guy. So concrete's kind of a little bit outside my comfort zone. But I've had sidewalks turn out great. Of course, you just broom them. You're not worried about getting a good finish on them. So it's a little bit of a different animal. Well, I poured a little 18-inch section. I thought, I'll do a test run here. Just quickcrete countertop, or quickcrete concrete, just like you did. Just regular 5,000 mix, I think it was. And poured it. It turned out awesome. I'm like, okay, this was easy. Then we poured the big old L shape, the rest of it, all one piece, in place, just like you did. And it turned out awesome. I mean, my wife was mixing it. I was pouring it in, troweling it in. Had it looking really good, all troweled smooth, and it was like, man, this is a piece of cake. About 2 days later, I'm putting the backsplash, or getting ready to put backsplash up, and I wipe my hand across it, and there's dust. My hand was real dusty, and I'm like, I don't think that's supposed to do that. So I'm like, well, maybe it's just got dusty from the saw, cutting trim and stuff in the house. I did it again, and I kind of rubbed it, and it started going down to the aggregate. I'm like, I don't think this is right. So I started Googling concrete dusting and all that stuff. Anyways, long story short, I either over-troweled it, troweled too much water back into it, but maybe you could tell me what I did wrong, but the whole surface come off. Like we took a wire wheel and took it right down to the aggregate and had to refinish it.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a moisture issue.
Well, another thing I did, so I use plywood. I noticed you use concrete board, which I don't know, does that absorb moisture at all, or?
No, not like plywood. And I think I mentioned that in that video. One of the reasons was you didn't want the moisture wicking out.
Well,
it causes
I polyurethane my plywood, so it wouldn't. I heard it can warp the plywood, and then the plywood will crack to concrete.
Okay.
You don't want water getting into your plywood.
Right.
Well, I thought by polyurethane, and it would seal it so it doesn't get into the plywood. Well, all the water had to come up through it, I guess. And I don't know. Some people said you should like take a garden hose and just drag the water off. Apparently, I just troweled it back in, but
see, I really had no. They call that bleed water, and
yeah,
I didn't have none.
And I didn't feel like I poured it too wet. I don't know. I didn't pour it any wetter than you did, but for some reason, I had a little bit of standing water.
Okay. Yeah, that might just be part of the finishing process.
But there again, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing with concrete, but that was interesting.
I mean, that's something you specialize in, though, that your job is concrete work.
Yeah.
So.
Our epic fail on those concrete countertops was I think I stained them too soon.
No.
I think I should have waited a week or so to actually stain them. We used a water-based stain. It's actually, it peels off in spots. It nicks up pretty easy.
The stain or the you did a epoxy over top of it?
Well, I done a stain and a clear coat epoxy.
Okay. The epoxy peels?
With the stain.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm to the point now where it's character.
Right. I mean, yeah, after I was done, my wife said, you got them too smooth. I want them rough. I'm like, man, it is hard to pour concrete and leave it, jagged edges. And
yeah.
I'm sure for you to do it, it'd be, I don't know, it'd just go against everything that you've learned in concrete.
Concrete's just all about timing. Hurry up and wait.
I do like the Sawzall blade behind the sink idea. I've never seen that.
I'd never done that.
Spur of the moment.
I mean, I was wanting a landscape pen or something, and I had some old Sawzall blades. And I think it's going to work.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I done rebar along the whole front of it and then behind the sink as well. And so far it's held up. And the reason I did that is we had a friend that poured one, and his broke. He didn't do any reinforcement. His broke, and there's like a 1/4 inch offset by the sink. So
I think if I was to redo a concrete countertop, I would probably use that hog panel wire instead of that mesh I used I thought was a joke.
The thing with the hog panel, it's stiffer. I noticed that mesh, it just kind of moved with the
because I was pouring it and pulling the mesh up.
Yeah.
Talking about that concrete countertop, a while back I'd done some concrete cornhole boards.
I seen those.
I'm guessing they were pour in place.
Yeah.
You're not moving them.
No, yeah.
What?
I poured them in here, and I've got a mini cabin way, way back here. And actually, I took them to the mini cabin. But I get probably one email a day on that video.
Really?
People's like, do you have blueprints? You can send me. Well, no, I kind of just.
It's the cornhole board.
Yeah. But kind of what we was talking about, I think I have a better plan now to make concrete cornhole boards, but kind of use the concrete countertop method and mixtures. I think it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at how many people I've had. There was a guy from a state park out in Utah said he's wanting to put them in their parks and wanted to know if we could talk. And it's like, man, that's kind of on the video is all I know. I mean,
right.
Do they play well?
Yeah, they actually do, and that's a big question I get. They actually slide just like.
I'm guessing you had to put some kind of stain or poly or something.
Yeah, I clear coated the tops and actually sanded the concrete, and they
probably no bounce to them.
No bounce. No.
You're not getting that bounce shot.
How heavy are they? You know.
What each one took 6 or 7 bags, so they're 500-600 pounds apiece. Which I took them up with the skid loader.
I thought that's how you get a workout in.
No.
Wow.
No, it took 4 of us to get them off the pallet onto my gravel base up at the mini cabin.
I'll have to watch that video. That's cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed they were that much.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But man, it's been awesome to have you guys out. Is anything else we want to talk about?
Let me look at my list here.
We got notes that are supposed to be on a notepad that are on his phone.
Yeah, the notepads are in the truck.
Perfect.
We covered pretty much everything I had wrote down. We didn't talk much about the sawmill. Apparently you like it. You seem to be doing a lot of work with it, cutting a lot of boards, a lot of building projects. So the good and the bad about a sawmill, I guess, or just talk about what
the Woodmizer sawmill, it's pretty easy to answer that question because obviously one of the good things is your lumber it's pretty much free. You can custom build or custom make your lumber, but there are some drawbacks, and I think that's the biggest thing people see off of watching people is that it's a ton of hard work.
Yeah, no doubt.
Off bearing the lumber that you cut. And something I'm still learning, I don't think I'll ever quit learning about, is how to see a log and predict how it's going to react and how to cut it the best way. You think it's simple, in which that's how I started, was just cutting logs. But you can kind of see the grain and see how it's centered, and you can actually cut a log to get your best yields and your best results so that it won't twist and turn and
warp.
Learned a lot about the different species, how they react. I mean, you guys may or may not know this, but you'd think an oak tree is the same, but like red oak outside will rot in no time. White oak will not.
White oak's what they use in ships, right? Red oak has real coarse, water in.
Correct. So like your white oak's what they use whiskey barrels. White oak outside is just a water-resistant wood.
Real tight grain.
Yeah, red oak will rot in no time. So it's been fun to learn about the different things. One of the things I guess I didn't realize once I got it, I'm like, I've got new best friends all the time. Like,
oh, no doubt.
Got this project I need.
Yeah,
yes.
no doubt.
But it's still a lot of work. I mean, people see these sawmills, and actually my father-in-law bought one, but he was equipped a little bit better than most. But some people get these sawmills, and they don't have a tractor. Like, you've got to deal with these logs that are super heavy. You got to get them to the mill, and once you cut them, you got to get rid of the waste and the product.
A lot of people don't really think out too far in advance what all they're going to need to.
I see on this one though, you have a lot of cool gadgets on it. I've noticed
which
ours didn't. Like it's got the log lifter, the log turner, self-propelled. It looks like
my sales pitch is the LT35 Woodmizer hydraulic. It's got the hydraulic log lift, so it lifts the log up. It's got the simple sets to where I can set it. So if I've got a board or a log cut down to a cant, and I want to cut all 1-inch boards, it'll automatically cut. I bring it back, and it's computerized. It'll go back or go down exactly 1 inch or whatever I've got it set to, which makes life a lot easier.
Will it also program it so your last cut is a full board?
No.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, that would be the next step up.
See, ours had a tape measure on the side. I'm looking at your tape measure, and the tape measure would tell you what to cut the board so it would come out even at the bottom. It had like 4 or 5 different quarter, 1/8 inch, or 1.25 inch, 1.8 inch, 1.5, depending on the thickness, because you basically figure your thickness of your board plus the 1/8 saw cut.
Yeah. Obviously, there's different models, and I'm just tickled I got the hydraulic.
No doubt. It looks a little bit easier than the old cant hook.
Yeah.
Trying to wrestle the log up on there.
Yeah, so
we would have to park ours on a bank and just roll the log down the bank onto it.
I mean, like I said, everybody needs to get in the game if you're thinking about it. But, it's been super handy. I've learned a lot about the wood and built all kinds of stuff out of that.
What's been the most challenging part
of the sawmill?
Yep.
It's finding time to run it.
That's what my next question was going to be. When do you have time to do it? I mean, is this a weekend hobby, or is this just whenever it rains and you can't go do construction? Or
I've been so busy trying to progress this place. I consume what I make just as fast as I make it. I really do. I mean, I keep saying I need to build a building to put the wood in so it starts drying.
Well, that was another thing I was going to ask. So, like, those logs, it looks like walnut you got sitting there cut now. Like, how long will that be before, like, does it have to cure a while before you can use it, or are you taking it right off the mill and using it?
That is an interesting point. Back in the old time, they would build green. What they call green is, they would cut a tree down, cut it up, and build with it. And that's, the buildings just shrunk with the wood, drying. Now, anytime you do interior work, cabinets, flooring, that's got to be properly dried so that you don't get that shrinkage. This particular walnut we have in the background, I just picked it up today from the kiln.
Okay.
So I cut it a while back, and it just got done at the kiln. I'm going to make some stair treads out of it.
So you going to make your own kiln?
Well, that's before the Airbnb project came up. I'd started on the kiln project. I've run power to it, and the brakes got put on with the Airbnb. It trumped the kiln.
Pays a little better, huh?
Well, yeah.
Hopefully.
the priorities just had to be rearranged. But the kiln is still in the future. The kilns, it's hard to find people to kiln dry wood, and somebody knows what they're doing, actually.
Right. I wouldn't even know where to start looking.
I helped a buddy make one in college. One of my roommates had a wood shop, and it just happened to be right down the road from school. And basically, we had a series of heat lamps in it and a lot of insulation.
Can you just put a dehumidifier in it, and is that good enough, or a couple of dehumidifiers, or do you need to?
That's kind of the simple way of thinking how it works, but there's a lot more actually to it. Okay. So like walnut, depending on how thick it is, you can actually dry it too fast.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
There's several things that goes into properly drying a kiln. It's actually the kiln part of properly drying wood is more complicated than actually sawing the wood. And that's something I'd love to learn about more one day.
It's just as important, though, because if you don't dry it properly, like you said, it'll crack, it'll warp, it'll do all kinds of stuff.
And I mentioned before, man, there's certain times of the year that you want to cut certain trees so that they warp less.
Okay.
With the saps are rising or lowering. Cool stuff.
How far did you jump the first time you broke a blade?
A bunch, and I still break them all the time.
Scares the crap out of you, doesn't it?
Yeah. A funny story, not funny, but a cool story. As soon as I got that thing, we're kind of Johnny Knoxville it up. I was like, what can we cut on this thing? So we actually cut, listen to this, a TV in half.
Oh,
a kayak. I mean, there's several things.
Is this pre-YouTube?
Oh, no.
Oh, is it on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
I actually named it like Whistling Woodmizer Shreds.
Oh,
I was trying to piggyback. It didn't work. But anyways, we cut a bowling ball in half.
Oh, no kidding.
That was like one of the last things we'd done. But we broke blades. Like I said, cut the TV, cut a refrigerator in half.
I can't
golf
believe
clubs, golf balls.
I can't believe you break blades. I mean, metal.
I can't believe it cut a bowling ball.
We opened the video up as which there's a bunch of people in this room. So I'm trying to do the intro up here, and like I said back earlier, I was a little nervous because there's so many people watching. Anyways, we put a big piece of ham, and we sliced that thing up in nice little pieces, and we was all eating it.
This is before or after the fridge?
Before. We done ice cream.
Oh my!
It was pretty neat.
Yeah.
It ate some stuff up, but the bowling ball, it got through it.
What is inside a bowling ball?
Oh, I'll have to show you. I think I got a piece around here somewhere.
It survived.
So does it count feet or anything that you've cut, or does it keep track of anything like that? Or?
No, that one don't.
Okay.
No. The biggest thing I get, especially on the videos, is the fumes. People get pretty excited about that.
I was wondering, you have it inside a pretty airtight, insulated, heated building. That surprised me.
Yeah.
Well, that and the fumes and the dust.
The dust is not bad, believe it or not, because usually what we're cutting is green wood, so it's not a powdery floating.
It falls quicker.
Yeah,
it doesn't float
falls.
as far.
It's definitely one of the cleaner sawmills I've ever been in.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
But we opened up all the doors. I got 2 industrial fans that I've got them lined up to where they move the air straight out. I'm sure I'm burning brain cells, but
seems to be working for you.
I'm just looking. Is there any way to put a duster on that thing?
Yeah, there definitely is. And the mill shop we're in, obviously I built it for the mill shop. And the wife and sisters-in-laws and sisters, they're all like, well, we got to have parties. Well, there's freaking birthday parties and all kinds of parties in here. So I actually need to build my own mill shop again.
Get kicked out of the mill shop.
I just need to make it way less cool so that nobody wants to come to it. Just go there and hang out.
Yeah. So how many people does it take to run the machine can you do it by yourself, or is it better to have 2 people?
I can definitely do it by myself. The only benefit to having more people was to off-bear the boards. So once you cut the boards, if you have somebody that can start stacking them.
I was off-bearer on a somewhat commercial sawmill for 3 weeks.
So it probably moved quick.
Rough.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
As fast as you could chuck boards. And then you had to stack them in a stack. You had to have them very neat, organized, band them. Then they'd come in with a loader. But the first week, I was 16 at this time.
Wearing you out, was it?
Oh, well, on concrete,
Yeah.
I went from, it was one of my first jobs as far as off, without work, besides working for my dad. And the first week was absolutely rough. My legs were killing me. And there was there's me and one other guy. And not only did we off-bear the sawmill, we off-bared the resaw, which is what cuts your slabs out. Or
well, you were probably making really good money, weren't you?
I think it was around $7 an hour. I think I did get room and board with that because it was the next county over. So I stayed with the people, but yeah, I lasted 3 weeks.
and it's heavy, like that green wood is.
Oh yes. Well, a lot of ours was 1.25 inch, but 12, 16-foot boards. But yes, they're heavy. Yeah.
Probably a somewhat dangerous job.
It wasn't too bad. Luckily, we didn't have to off-bear the slabs. They had a big old chipper. We could just run the slabs through and didn't have to off-bear those. We just kind of had to guide them down the rollers and make sure they went in the chipper. But yeah, it's literally you hopped all day, and yeah, that was interesting. But off-bearing with one of these would be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Not cutting quite as fast.
Oh, 100%. Like it takes.
I tell you what, the coolest sawmill setup I've ever seen was my grandpa's. Steam engine on a big old circular sawmill.
Oh, yeah.
That is the coolest thing still to this day that I've ever seen.
See, Jeremy, you got to get a steam engine in here.
Yeah, if you want to make a cool YouTube, yeah, there you go. He would bury that blade clear up in the log, like a log that's so deep the blade doesn't reach out the top. And on an old circular sawmill like that, you have a lever you pull. You pull the lever, it runs the carriage through. And he would have that lever down. He'd be sitting on the lever because the belt was slipping. And that steam engine never slowed down. I think it's only like 110 horse steam engine. And that thing would just bark and keep right on trucking. People don't know, but steam is, I think to this day, I don't know about compared to electric, one of the torqueiest methods of power there was. I don't know about if it beats electric, but the torque of a steam engine is like 100 horse steam engine is probably compared to like I want to say 300 horse diesel, maybe diesel motor even. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I watched Back to the Future Part 3. Doc Brown had that thing just a rolling goal. Never had to get to 88 mile an hour.
I don't think
This is before our time.
Oh, I was going to say. I missed that one.
Damn youngins.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, I appreciate you having us out here, man. I feel like we could probably BS about this kind of stuff all day. But
yeah, you'll have to promise to bring me back in a couple of years when you guys are blowing up.
yeah, y'all, we have more to talk about, I'm sure. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right,
Karen Creek, over and out.
Yep, and you have Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook, anything else, or just YouTube? I forgot to ask Ben that the last episode.
Oh. Yeah, there's a Facebook and Instagram.
Okay,
Karen Creek.
All right. So check him out.